Once upon a time, in a village by the mountains, there lived a blacksmith with his wife and their little son named Nam. Their village was peaceful, and the people mainly lived by handcrafting and using water from the stream that flowed through the forest. But one spring, the stream suddenly dried up, with no water. The fire in the forge went cold. Trees withered, cooking pots gathered dust, and the once familiar sound of hammering slowly disappeared from the village. Everyone was shocked. Some were worried, some angry, and some started blaming one another. Gradually, hope faded like the last bit of steam from an old kettle. One day, the village elder stood up and called on everyone to pray, not at the communal house, nor at the temple, but right in their own homes at sunset. That night, the blacksmith's family gathered together. He lit an oil lamp and sat silently with his hands clasped. His wife whispered her prayers in the corner. Nam, only 7 years old, sat between them, quietly watching the flickering flame. In a deep and weary voice, the blacksmith looked up at the ancestral altar. "Please, heaven, have mercy and let the water return. All we ask is to live, to work, to hear the sound of hammering ring through the village once more." Nam didn't say much. He simply closed his eyes and murmured, "Dear heaven, my father needs water to forge. You can do it, right?" As the prayer ended, the blacksmith stood up, picked up the oil lamp, and headed toward the workshop. Seeing that, Nam ran over. "Where are you going, Dad?" "I'm going to check if the forge still works. If it does, I'll try something tomorrow morning." Nam nodded and rushed inside. A moment later, he came back, carrying a wooden water bucket in his hands. The blacksmith laughed. "What are you bringing that for?" "The stream is dry." Nam looked at his father and replied earnestly, "But what if heaven brings the water back tonight? We have to be ready, right?" The man froze, staring at his little boy, and couldn't say a word. The blacksmith stood still. He didn't know how to respond to such sincerity and simple faith from his son. He looked up at the sky outside the door, a deep, endless black, with no moon, no clouds, no sign of rain. Then he looked down at that small face, still holding tightly to the empty bucket with determination. In that moment, a quiet whisper echoed in his heart. Prayer is good, but even more precious is believing it will be answered and living as if it already has. He gently placed a hand on his son's shoulder, and the two of them walked toward the workshop, the flickering oil lamp lighting the way. Nam still held the bamboo scoop, and in the blacksmith's heart, for the first time in many months, there was a faint but unmistakable light, hope. And that night, the rain came. Not a heavy downpour, but the first drops quiet, steady, like a response from the heavens. Water soaked into the soil, into the hearts of the people, and into the hammers waiting to ring again by morning. The story of the blacksmith and his little son teaches us a simple yet powerful lesson. True faith does not lie in words, but in action. In life, whenever we find ourselves in despair or dead ends, faith is often the first thing to abandon us. Just like the villagers in the story, everyone prayed, but few dared to prepare a bucket. Only one boy, with his humble belief, reminded everyone that if you believe something is possible, live as if it's already happening. Faith is the seed of all good things, of dreams, of action, and of results. Without it, every effort becomes half-hearted. But when faith is present, it leads to action, and action leads to change. Whether in work, in love, or in prayer, faith is always at the core. When we take medicine, we believe it will heal us, and that very belief plays a role in the healing. When we pray, our words only carry true power when our hearts believe that miracles are real. And sometimes, all we need to do is carry a water bucket into a moonless night. This story reminds us that a firm belief, whether in ourselves, in our goals, or in our prayers, is the seed of every miracle.